Hi, this is Ray of RV Tech Tools, and I just released today a new version of SWTracker. The version number is 1.0.2, build number 38, and I just wanted to show you briefly a couple of bug fixes and a couple of changes to the application. So first of all, the changes I can actually show you on the app, and then we'll just discuss the bug fixes very briefly. So I'm going to go ahead and start the app. If you notice here, you'll see that under the title that version 1.0.2 build number 38, and that is the current new version. So two of the fixes, let me show you briefly. I'm going to try to enable tracking. I've currently set my tracking permissions, the GPS permissions, to never, to show you this little bitty bug fix. In previous versions, if you ever had your permissions for the location services incorrect, you would get a message like this saying that it could not start tracking, and then there would be a button right here that says go ahead and open the settings app to fix this. Well, it turned out it never worked in previous versions. That is one bug fix that if you now tap on the open settings, which I'll do there, it opens the setting apps and takes you directly to the SWTracker page where you can change the location services. Now, the big change in this version is that previously I was never able to get the tracking app to work correctly unless the permissions for location services were set to always, which means that the tracking services were always enabled, not necessarily active because that was controlled by the application and the enable tracking button. But it did require that you had the settings set for always. And that was a little bit of a bone of contention with some people. If you looked at YouTube videos, there were several people say never ever allow an app to have tracking all the time. So I finally got it working with just while using the app. So now you can set the permissions to while using the app and it will work correctly. So I'm going to go back into the app, and the big difference now, unlike previously, is you can enable tracking and it will work with the settings set for while in use. That's the two major changes that I can actually show you here. There is a bug fix and what I'm going to call maybe a poor design decision for the second part. The design decision had to do with photos. Just a little background for those that are interested is that when you send a photo to Spotwalla through the app, it's actually a two-message process. A regular location message is sent up to Spotwalla, and when Spotwalla responds back that it's got the message, it sends back a message identification number, a message ID. Well, that then is used and is correlated with the photo data, and then subsequently the photo data is sent to Spotwalla with that message ID so that on the Spotwalla website, the picture data gets associated with the location message on your trip map so that it's in the right place at the right time. So as it turned out, I had a customer that when he went to take pictures, he would kill the application, actually throw it out of memory, by doing this. And he would take it and whoops, didn't quite get it, flip it out of memory. For those that are in the know, these apps that are in the background here, when you tap them and they come back in, they restart exactly where they left off. But when you throw the memory or the application out of memory, it starts from scratch. It's just like you had just installed the application for the first time, although it does still have the stuff that it's been stored on disks that when the application starts up for the first time or after a restart like that, it would keep the location messages that were stored on disk and reload those. that were waiting to go to Spotwalla. But if there were any pictures, photos, then it would delete those. And the reasoning at the time is that, well, I don't want a bunch of several megabyte files piling up for an unknown reason and ultimately kind of chewing up your memory. So during an initial startup process, any photos found in the disk area of SWTracker were deleted. Well, like I mentioned, I did have this one customer who would kill the application just after taking a picture. And what was happening quite often is that the initial message would go up to Spotwalla, but before that message could come back, the message ID returned, and then the photo data being sent up, the app was crashed or killed. And so he ended up with pictures that never went to Spotwalla and were in this memory and ultimately deleted when it restarted. So I've changed the process on the startup to go through all of the pictures and look for the associated location message that matches. And if they exist, then the message is kept, and ultimately it will go up to Spotwalla. Any picture data or a photo that is not matched with a message over in the location messages queue, then it will be deleted and it will free up that extra memory that is not going to be used. And okay, and then there was one last bug. So the other one I'm calling a design decision. This one is an actual bug. And one of the customers on my last version came up with kind of a very strange state where he had a message that somehow was corrupt. It didn't have the right information within the message. And so what would happen is the app would grab it. It was the first message in the queue, get ready to send it up to Spotwalla, and then in the area of the code where it got ready to send it, it goes, oh, this doesn't have the right information, and it rejected it, but didn't tell the upstream code, oh, you need to remove this message from the queue. And so that message went back in the queue and then immediately was tried again, and it continued in this big circular fashion to fail as more location messages came into the bottom of the queue. And pretty soon this poor customer had 400 location messages waiting to go to Spotwalla that couldn't make it because the top message was bogus, and it just caused this circular loop. So that has now been fixed, and any bogus message will actually be removed from the queue so that normal processing of the remaining messages can happen. So that's it for 1.0.2 build 38. Just basically the change in tracking services now requires only while in use permission. And the settings app, if you have the wrong permission set, you can tap on the open settings and it does that. And then lastly, the bug fix with respect to the never-ending bogus message and the loss of photos from the app in the case if the app crashed or if it was manually killed by the user. Anyway, I hope you find that this will work well. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, and we'll be looking forward to getting on the road with the app now. Take care.